What's going on, YouTube? I'm AJ. This is my gun review, and today I have an interesting one for you in the form of a Guardian Arsenal Spectre. Now, this gun consists of a 5-inch overall length, looks to be about a 4-inch barrel, maybe 4 1/4, with a fairly large single-port comp at the front. You have a short dust cover steel frame, MJD grip module that looks to be in-house stippled by MJD, and we have an RMR mounted up top. Pistol's chambered 9mm. Now, Guardian Arsenal is a builder I was not previously familiar with until about 6 months ago when a friend of mine reached out and advised he'd picked one up and that it might be a gun that would be of interest to me. So the builder was Marvel trained and that the Spectre was a lightweight compensated 2011 built to Marvel standard. As such, I moseyed on over to Guardian Arsenal's website, which, just right quick, that website, I don't know who made that website. It is terrible. Whoever did the descriptions on that, I really hope it was AI because it's worth a read. That aside, my friend was right. The guns did seem rather intriguing. Now, looking at their website today versus back then, some things have changed, and I'm not sure for the better. It looks like they've moved over to using Cerakote almost exclusively on their pistols. They also changed their roll mark to this warbird looking theme, which in my opinion is a step down from what you'll see on this pistol on the tabletop. But all that aside, it still seemed like a very compelling option that matches a lot of my wants and preferences in a 2011. So with that said, let's take this one over the tabletop, get a little closer look at what you get with a Guardian Arsenal Spectre. All right, the Guardian Arsenal Spectre. So we have 5 inches overall length. This is either a 4 or 4 1/4 inch barrel and slide compensator at the end. You'll note we have a very big port opening on the compensator. Also, up at the front of the comp, if I can get this, you can see it's nicely rounded and beveled, which actually is a nice aesthetic touch. Compensator consists of a cone barrel, which is nice because that allows us to open that compensator all the way up instead of having to waste area for threading. And our barrel is a Cart National match. Not a lot of decoration on this pistol. You can see the slide is fairly plain. I do like the roll mark on this example. Just a nice, simple Guardian Arsenal Spectre 9x19 set back towards the serrations. I think that is very well done. What I think is less well done is the stippling, kind of a cobblestone pattern that provides basically no texture. And if I'm honest, it does not look particularly attractive either. Personally, I would rather see that absolutely smooth or some proper serrations put in its place. I do like the optic plate. I'm not sure where it is sourced from. I can say it is properly low. You can see how low the RMR is sitting on this. Also, I like the forward backup iron sight. And I'll note that you have a nice blend job on the front side as well. The slide to frame fit is good, but not excellent. So there is the slightest bit of play or wobble. Not enough to hear. You can feel it, which I don't love. This gun does have a Marvel disconnector cut. I'll note the gun is sprung fairly heavily. You have a full-length guide rod for a commander length recoil spring. And racking the gun feels good but not great. So it is a little on the heavier side, which isn't necessarily a problem. The gun did cycle well while shooting. It's hard to put into words, but it's not as smooth as others I've felt. Now moving down to the frame, this is a little bit unique to this Spectre. The frame itself is the same width as the slide, although he does offer an option where you can have it 19/11 width. So similar to Staccato, where the frame is a little bit thinner than the slide, which I think if you're going to use it as a carry option would probably be the way to go. The frame does not have a rail, which I don't love, but aesthetically it is nice, and I like how he's rounded that out with the frame being made of steel. The slide stop is the curved design that you see on most of the other Marvel guns as well. Overall, I like the piece. It has a nice relief cut underneath the paddle. No complaints with that. Moving back to the thumb safety, I'm actually not sure who the part supplier is for it. Nicely beveled at the back, so it doesn't have any hot spots. The strong side paddle is actually fairly thin on this one. I wonder if it was set up for a lefty. But, nice smooth activation. The stroke seems a little bit short, kind of similar to a Triarch that I reviewed more recently. But, no wiggle. Overall, well-tuned pieces. Moving back to the grip safety, well-tuned. You can see the activation point is a very slight depression, which is exactly how I like them. And the blend is very good throughout there as well. A nicely fit piece, exactly how I like a grip safety to be done. The grip module is an MJD, which is my preference. It's a polymer piece. I believe this is one of the factory in-house stippled variants that you can get directly from MJD. Overall, it has a very nice texture. Maybe not the most attractive texture, but it felt good and it was effective in use. Not overly aggressive, but when I was wanting to bear down on the gun, I could really get in it nicely. Like I said, for polymer grips, these MJDs, they are my favorite. Forgive the missing screw. Pretty sure it fell out during shooting, so I'll have to find another one to throw in there. No magwell on this gun, but honestly, the opening for this is more than adequate, and I didn't have any problems finding my reloads. Mag catch, fairly low profile piece, unbranded, untextured. Smooth in operation, sprung a little bit on the lighter side, actually feels really good. No complaints there. As to the trigger, I believe this is going to be an Everglades piece. It's fit perfectly into the grip module, so no play. Medium length, which is my preference. The take-up actually has quite a bit of weight on it, so this trigger is in the 3.5 to 4 pound range, so a little bit heavier than usual. Has a bit of a rolling break. Very forceful reset, which I do like. And a pretty firm break, like I said, in the 3.5 pound range. Overall, a very usable trigger. Maybe not the sexiest or most fun to use, but in function it was excellent, and the direct reset meant I could run the gun fairly quickly on the bill drills. That is a Guardian Arsenal Spectre.
But does it shoot? Well, yes, as long as you go into it with the understanding that, despite the large compensator, this is not a race gun. That's not to say that it's slow or harsh. In fact, it's actually quite soft shooting, but it's not the fastest gun I've used. It was, however, very reliable. Just look at that ejection pattern, and quite accurate, making easy work of the 5x50, if not the fastest 5x50. And same with the plate rack. It was easy, as long as I kept the speed appropriate. If I was to point out one detractor, I would say the nose was a little erratic, which slowed the speed a bit.
Alright, final thoughts on the Spectre. Admittedly, when I first received the gun, I was a little bit harsh on it, and That was probably due to my expectations from the get go, based on my experiences with other Marvel style guns. Fact of the matter is, this gun just doesn't quite live up to the fit and finish of many of the other Marvel builders that I've used. Chambers, Sharon, Mercier. It just has a rougher overall feel and lacked both the supreme tightness but also silky smoothness that I was otherwise accustomed to. The trigger was okay, as was the grip, but overall, I wasn't particularly captivated by the pistol on its first presentation. After spending some time with it, I started to warm up to the gun. Fact of the matter is, this configuration is fairly lightweight, balances well in the hand, it's very quick on transition, and I could see it being useful in a carry type application. Admittedly, I would like to see a rail on it, but there's not. The comp is particularly large for the size of the pistol, and I did find in shooting, despite its very light front end, the gun does shoot quite flat. The trigger returns very quickly, which actually made for a fairly quick shooting gun as well. In shooting, the gun seemed well tuned, the ejection pattern was beautiful, I didn't have any malfunctions or hangups. In fact, overall, it has been a solid workhorse of a gun. Now, that said, there are still a couple hangups with it. Firstly, the owner had sent this gun in for some repairs of no fault of the build quality of the gun. There's a incident involving the previous owner. But while the gun was back at Guardian Arsenal, it wound up taking quite a bit longer than expected, which, again, is fine. But I do expect communication if those deadlines aren't being met. What wound up happening with this is both the deadlines were not met, but also the owner just straight up stopped responding. And from the explanations I've heard from other sources, apparently he just goes through phases or moods where he doesn't respond to anyone and kind of goes dark for a while. That's not great. In fact, for the most part, that's outright not acceptable. And it left this gun's owner in a overlap period where, he wasn't sure what was going on with his gun or if he was ever going to get his gun back. So that gives me some pause on actually recommending this company. On top of that, I do have to bring up the value proposition. Fact of the matter is, I don't think this is the best gun you can get for the price that it costs. Depending what you're looking for out of a pistol, it may be a compelling option. I think this is a step ahead of the Accuracy X offerings. But similar to what I said with Accuracy X, I'm not sure this is better than a Staccato XC. But ultimately, that is use case dependent as well. The facts of the matter are, this was a very reliable, dependable, accurate, soft shooting pistol. And I had a great time using it. So, with that said, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.